from there. Even a lot of free material is available on your website, which I would like to credit because I remember environment notes I had taken from your website. I remember even IPR notes I think I had taken from your website. So those like even that material, those materials really helped me, and quality of checking for those tests that I had given, I think that was also very good. So if I had missed some section, if I had missed some case law, so the checker would mention that okay, this is missing, this is missing. So I think though because it helps build a mindset. Okay, I have to mention this. I should mention this, and then I think gradually those things become a part of your answer writing. So I think that was very helpful.
So today before us, we have Manasi, who is a law graduate from National Law University, Bangalore. That is not simple because she has cleared UPSC with All India rank 78 with law as her optional. So welcome, Manasi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Now please let us know about your complete journey, your UPSC journey, how it started, when you settled down with your studies, and how was your final preparation and everything.
Ma'am, so this journey has not been a short one. It's been a long one. I graduated from NLS in 2023, and post that I appeared in 23 as well, 24 and then 25. In 23, while I was in college, I could not clear prelims. In 2024, I reached till the interview stage, but I was short of 11 marks in the final list, and this was my third attempt in 2025. So it's been a long journey, and I began studying properly in my fifth year in college. That time I utilized to understand the subjects, what is the requirement or the demands of the exam. But I could not cover a lot of things, and which is why probably I could not clear prelims that year. And then when I came back home, I did my preparation online through resources and at home. And when I came back home, I then sort of understood what the demands are. How do you go about preparing mains and prelims things together? How to go about optional? And all of these things I realized then, and then I started preparing properly. Then I gave my attempt in 2024. Uh, my score in mains was a little low, which I realized later. When I cleared mains, I did not know that where all I was lagging. But later, after I realized that my score in law optional and ethics was low. So, which was the reason I could not get into the final list. Then in the third attempt, then again I had that time and I prepared again and I significantly improved my law optional score. 36 marks I had improved from last year. So
Nice.
which sort of put me in the list this year. So
Not
that
only the list, you have secured 78, not only the list. Great thing. Okay.
yes, so that
So,
has been my
yeah.
journey so far.
Okay. So it's like you told me drastically your score increased in law optional. So what did you do this time to score so much in law optional? What was that thing you did? The magic.
I would not call it magic because last year I could not really focus on law. It was my first mains and also I had to undergo a surgery after prelims. So my time was compromised between prelims and mains. And me being naive to the process, I sort of sidelined optional a little bit. Like I did study, but I could not practice. I did not write any answers. So which is
Mm.
why the retention was a little poor in that attempt. So I was not able to recall a lot of case laws, a lot of sections in the exam. I remember struggling with basic questions like misappropriation and breach of trust. Like I could not remember the sections also in 21 in my 2024 attempt. So like that, because of lack of revision, I would say that changed in 2024. I was able to revise properly, could write answer, I sort of write it at least. I wrote at least two or three answers every day for law optional, even gave full length tests. So that I think was a major difference because questions repeat every year in optional. So one needs to do PYQs properly. All of those things I did this time.
Excellent. So you were talking about revision. How many times did you revise? How was your preparation? You completed once and then did you revise? And did you take test series side by side, or you completed everything and took the test series?
So, ma'am, since I started properly after 2023, my graduation, then I prepared law optional first. So I took almost 5 to 6 months to finish my syllabus once to make my notes. That time I was not doing any test series. I was not writing answers also because my sole focus was to read the material and according to PYQs, just make my notes. And
Mm.
then after that, I took test series. That's when I took your test series, and I wrote a few sectional tests. Small, I think those were 1.5 hour or
Yeah,
test,
that's a small test that we kept. Yes.
small
Yeah.
tests, and I had written at least 10 of them. I remember. So I had written those tests that time. This was before prelims. I had written those
Okay.
tests. And then because of the other health conditions, I could not write in 2024 more tests like before mains. So this time, like the revision that happened once after in November, I had finished my syllabus, November 2023. Then I revised once and I gave those tests.
Mm.
That was it for that time. Then I revised in 20 before my mains. That 2 times I had revised then before mains in 2024. But again, those 2 times were after a gap of 6 months. So I think three
Mm.
or four revisions are needed to make it adequately remember before mains. This is what I did in my 2025 attempt. So then I had at least revised 3 or 4 times those notes in the 3 months duration between prelims and mains. That is how I think the recall increased, which was missing earlier. And then I just wrote tests in 2025.
Nice. So you attempted the subject-wise test and all at the end before the mains?
No, this time
I'm
I could not attempt.
okay.
Last time only
Okay.
I.
Okay, nice, nice. So when you saw your UPSC mains paper, that is law optional paper, what was your first thought? Whether it was easy this time or you felt that it is bit difficult or something?
For paper one, I felt it was easier for me because I
Mm.
feel either my preparation was better or the questions were not that difficult, or there was only, I think, one question that I was not very sure of properly what to write. One, I think the Rome Statute question, 10 marker
Mm.
there. So I did not have the complete details to that answer because it was a mandatory question. I had written what I could write, but that way I had known almost all questions in paper one. Paper two, there were a couple of questions. I think all of us struggled with those questions in paper two. But generally, it was better than last year for me because even the last year, concept wise, I don't think law optional is a difficulty because law optional doesn't give you very difficult questions, which is difficult for you as a lawyer. It is just how much do you remember? I feel that is the point. So this time I was able
Exactly.
to remember more, which is I felt was easier for me.
Okay. So see, last time we had IPC, now we have a bonus which is BNS as well. So now, did you quote both the sections?
I did. I this time I because they don't give you specifically which act. They just tell you like so the question was difference between culpable homicide and murder. So I had written both sections.
Okay, but for the neutral question, you gave both inputs,
Yes.
right?
Because there was no
Okay.
particular question. The syllabus doesn't say BNS
They're
yet.
not asking like that. Yeah, they just put criminal law. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. Very nice approach. So, what you did for case laws, because everybody asked me, ma'am, how many case laws should I write for 10 marker, for the 15 marker? Did you have any specific numbers, or it is only the demand of the question you wrote the case laws?
I think it is very difficult to have a specific number for case laws because every subject, every topic will require different things. For international law, you might not have that many case laws. But for constitution or criminal law, for some topics like murder, you might have 10 case laws. So that is also very different. And I feel because it's a relative competition, if in a particular question, you end up writing less and others are writing more, like for something which is very popular like a murder question, then I feel it is important that you adequately have good number of case laws because you have to compete with them, though I don't support dumping of case laws. I feel they should add value to what you are writing. Just quoting or writing names does not make sense to me. But of course, landmark case laws I feel should not be missed.
Excellent. Okay. Now, when we are talking about case laws, should we write the facts or just what is held? How did you approach that in your paper?
Ma'am, mostly it was only ratio that I had written in a lot of answers because there are so many things to write. Like the folk in some cases, for example, in torts, I may have written some given some introduction or in two lines of facts I must have given. But for a question where I have to write number of case laws, I had compromised on facts and I had only written ratio. So where I had to where I it depends on the question. If the question demands me to explain it with a case law, then I would explain with the facts of the case law. But otherwise, I would only mention ratio.
That's very nice. Depending upon the demand and situation, you just do what is required in that question, right? Excellent. Okay. So now tell me which subject was very challenging in law optional when you are preparing.
My felt international law was very challenging. I feel I was never a fan of international law, even in college. And the
Same here.
concepts,
I don't know why. I love constitutional law, every other law, but international law, when I take class as well, I used to like see, verify the facts twice and thrice and then take class. Yeah, international, I agree.
I
So
think
how did you
it was
like
also
overcome that?
I had to use a multiple combination of resources to overcome my fears of international law because I was not able to understand merely through books some things. Some
Mm.
concepts I felt were a little obscure for me to understand. I had used videos also, like YouTube videos, or just general even chat GPT to understand certain topics. For example, law of seas. It was a little confusing for me, some things like how delimitation is working and how different things are working. So I did use AI for that to understand.
Very nice. Using AI for UPSC law optional preparation, that too for any preparation is very important, I consider. So how did you use AI for law optional preparation?
One is that one whatever concepts I was not able to understand, just to break it down, I feel AI is helpful because I have
Mm.
realized you don't need to complicate things in this exam. You need to simply even in answer writing, you need to simplify to the core barest minimum, like writing bare ingredients of what crime or even constitutional section ka provision ka breakdown. So that sort of basics should be very clear to you. You don't need
Mm.
to complex things because okay,
Mm.
complex like statements or some quote of the judge might help you gain some extra marks, but if you miss out the basics you don't have anything else to get marks. One is that one is to understand anything if I am not able to understand. Second, I think for CLD topics I did use AI to get some material, even though I was not fully relying on AI because case laws may you can't really rely
Yeah,
on AI. It will give you short.
definitely. It will give its own case laws most of the times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
irrelevant case laws might not. So that I was
Mm.
not, but arguments for getting like so like four, you have to get a 10 mark answer on four patents ka, what are the steps. So that
Mm.
short answer it will give. Like I have a 10 pages notes on patents, but if I need to write that in like 2 pages, so that
Mm.
concising me it will help. Like all those basic aids to get structure of answers, I think that's where AI can be helpful.
Very good. See, make use of technology, which is very important. Good one. Okay. So, how did you give your introduction? How did you frame it for your answers?
Ma'am, it mostly, so if it was dependent on a section, I would like to introduce it through that section. So, for example, in contracts, constitution, or even criminal law, wherever there was a section, I would, or a definition. If it's a defamation question, I'll give definition of defamation from that act. Or if there's any quote or something, I usually used quotations of something judge had said or a judgment at the end, like in the conclusion. I feel that's what I focus a lot on simplicity. So whatever the direct demand, and usually in law optional there's a direct demand of the question. Unlike in GS where there's a convoluted demand as to what they're trying to ask, in law optional they are generally asking what is this or why is this or whatever. So if what on whatever they're asking, I feel the first thing is to just define that. that this is they
Go
this.
for it. Straight. What they ask, we'll go for it. Okay, we won't waste time. We won't waste space. Very good approach. Nice.
I
Okay.
feel, it is better to then explain, then give more case
Mm.
laws. Like, I think you should talk of substance more than just talking about things which are not relevant.
Oh, that's very nice. Okay. So, how was your conclusion per se?
So conclusion, in some questions, I think it might have been compromised because of lack of time. So I would just write any generic statement on that topic. But where in, especially in 20 markers, 15 markers, I ensure that I write good conclusions. So there if unlike GS where there's some sort of forward-looking approach or something, I think in law optional either it can be a summarization sort of thing that okay, this is how it has been. There can be in constitution that can be how this helps governance, so it can have that GS impact. In other case laws, I feel so. For example, like why, giving the reason can help. So in like conspiracy, if there's a question on conspiracy, so there's a statement by Lord Atkin that how conspiracy is punished because the collective use of force is so dangerous that it can hamper society. So does this punishment in conspiracy helps overcome the problem of collective use of force, yeah, the mischief caused by collective use of force. So that's how I used to conclude my answers.
Excellent. You touched the rationale of that particular section. Why do we have to have this section, right?
That
Excellent.
sometimes I used to write that before, like in
Hmm.
the main part, but in some questions I ended up writing that as conclusions also.
Very good. Awesome. Talking about time, because just writing the answer is not UPSC. Writing that within time is the key. So, how did you plan the time management for 10 marker, 15 marker, and all those things?
Initially, I had a lot of problem in time management. So your 1.5 hour tests that were there, I used to finish that in 2 hours or even sometimes more. So later, I realized that I need to stick to time. I had used that GS approach, that marks-based time allotment. So for a
Hmm.
10 marker, 7 minutes, and for a
Hmm.
15 marker, I think 10 to 11 minutes, and for a 20 marker, 15 minutes. So 14 to 15 minutes. So that was my rough division, and I used to religiously follow it, that this is how I need to go about and I can't waste more time. Sometimes in a 10 marker, if I don't know, I would like to finish that in 5 minutes so that I have 2 extra minutes to write a better answer in a 15 or a 20 marker.
Correct. Okay. So, finally, how did law experts help you in the preparation? If you have any words, please.
Then so the answers of, I think the best part that I felt about law experts was the answers to those questions, the subject wise tests and even the full length tests. I had actually used them to enhance my notes. That I think because the quality of those answers, that really helped me. That had a lot of case law, that had a lot of value addition material. So that material, I did not take any foundation for law optional. I did not have any coaching notes for law optional. So that was a sort of a supplementary to the notes that I had made. So I added some materials from there. Even a lot of free material is available on your website, which I would like to credit because I remember environment notes I had taken from your website. I remember even IPR notes I think I had taken from your website. So those like even that material, those materials really helped me, and the quality of checking for those tests that I had given, I think that was also very good. So if I had missed some section, if I had missed some case law, so the checker would mention that okay, this is missing, this is missing. So I think though because it helps build a mindset. Okay, I have to mention this. I should mention this, and then I think gradually those things become a part of your answer writing. So I think that was very helpful.
Excellent. Thank you. So, now you give one advice for UPSC law optional preparation students or for UPSC per se. What one advice that you give? Golden rule. You have to follow this.
I think practice is the key. In
Mm.
both my attempts, in all of the time that I had spent, wherever I did practice, I had achieved success. But wherever I lacked practice, wherever I lacked answer writing, I think that is where I was not able to turn it into success. So, for any UPSC aspirant, you're at whatever stage, it is so important that you are consistent at practice. Be it prelims, so continuously practice mock tests. If it is mains, continuously do answer writing. So, this is very important because ultimately it's a game of retention. How much are you able to remember? And the remembering part will only be enhanced the more you practice, the more it will come to you.
Yes, hard work is the key. Consistency is the key. Right. Very nice. One thing I forgot to ask. See, we do graduation in law, right? So what is the difference between the answers that we write in our college and now in UPSC? What is the demand of UPSC you see from your eyes?
In my view, my experience in college was very different. The kind of questions that were asked were a lot fact-based questions, so I had to write a lot of answers only in IRAC format. Like
Okay.
it was majorly like me deciding what is happening in that question. And even
Mm.
otherwise I feel UPSC has a particular, so in some questions a college might demand expansive writing, like on a particular issue you write a lot on that issue. So UPSC has a very different way of asking. They'll ask you very pinpointed direct questions, and those sort of questions sometimes you have to write only in 2 to 3 pages, that too in 150 words. Like pages, more than pages, the words matter. So even if you write that in 1.5 page or 2 page or 2.5, that doesn't matter. Like you have a word limit to write. So and like condensing all your material and not feeling that you are just dumping material, to find that balance where you're giving value addition, but you're also explaining your things properly. I think that is the challenge in exam. In college you might just write expansively for some answers. You might write 3 4 pages for an answer, and
Mm.
you're able to explain every fact, everything. This is what changes in UPS. You need to get that balance where you give value addition, but you're also concise in what you are saying.
It's very nice because I used to get all additional papers and somehow dump in my college. Everything, whatever, no, I'll write. I have that liberty and do that.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Wonderful talking to you, Mansi.
Thank,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
We'll wind up.
Yes.
Anything else you want to convey to everyone, please tell. So I'll just add this in the interview. Please convey anything you want.
No, I think, ma'am,
Nothing?
that's more than enough. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. We'll wind up. Yeah.